22nd to order. Billy, verification of agenda posting.
Thank you, Chairman Torres. The agenda for the Planning Commission of Thursday, August 22nd, 2013 was posted on Friday, August 16th, 2013 at 2:53 p.m.
Okay, Commissioner Alvarez, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to roll call.
Commissioner Alvarez.
Here.
Commissioner Lenore.
Present.
Commissioner Haboy.
Here.
Commissioner Harvey. And Chairman Torres.
Here. All right, approval of minutes for July 25th, 2013. Do we have any comments, questions? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we pass the July 25th meetings as presented.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Move to communications from the public on items not listed on the agenda. Billy, we have any speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay. With that, we'll bring it back to the commission with any items prior to getting started or any discussion. Nope. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move into item number 1. Conditional use permit 2013-3. Julia Vancil and Elliot, if I'm pronouncing that, Vancil Ventura, 827 Industrial Drive, APN 056270015, requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow a commercial personal training facility, CrossFit, with small retail sales accessory to use in a 4,750 square foot suite within an existing 15,000 square foot industrial building within the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District of the City of Hollister. CEQA is categorical exemption.
Yes,
Abraham?
thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant is requesting, as you mentioned, approval of a conditional use permit to allow a commercial personal training facility in a 4,750 square foot suite within an existing 15,000 square foot industrial building in the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District. The personal training would take place within one of the 7 suites in this building. It's in a 0.848 acre lot. Hours of operation would be from 5:30 in the morning to 8:30 p.m., 6 days a week. The proposal does include small retail sales accessory to the use, such as T-shirts, water bottles, etc. The personal training use would take place within this 4,750 square foot suite located closest to Industrial Drive. The floor plan indicates that it's a 1-story building, and it includes a general fitness area which includes classes for weight training and gymnastics, a reception, small retail area, an office space area, and restroom facilities. There are currently 37 parking spaces on the site, including 2 ADA parking spaces. There are 7 suites within the 15,000 square foot structure and consist of the following uses. First would be occupied by the potential CrossFit gym. Second, the second suite is vacant. The third one, it's more of a personal, it's owned by David Bonner. It's more like a personal, maybe storage use. Then it's Mark's Locksmith. Then it's Downtown Auto within the 5th and 6th suites. And the 7th suite is currently vacant.
Section 171860 of the Hollister Municipal Code requires health and fitness clubs to include 1 parking space for each 250 square feet of gross floor area. Pursuant to Section 171860 of the Hollister Municipal Code, the 3,897 square foot personal training use would require 15 parking spaces. The office space would require 1 space for every 250 square feet. The reception retail area would require 1 space per every 250 square feet for general merchandise sales. The total vehicle spaces required for the CrossFit gym would be 19 spaces. The site has a total of 37. Pursuant to the California Plumbing and Building Code, a health and fitness personal training facility of 4,750 square feet requires a total of 2 water closets for men and 2 water closets for women and 1 drinking fountain. And with this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving conditional use permit 2013-3, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Are there any questions for staff?
If it was
Yeah, so if the project was approved, it would be able, the zoning code indicates that because it is an industrial zoning district, the uses that are permitted should be industrial. However, if the planning commission approves a commercial area within the industrial, it would have to be through a conditional use permit. So therefore, pending your approval or your decision tonight, if it is approved, then it would be allowed with the conditions of approval that are in the draft resolution. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's another, Commissioner Harvey, that's another CrossFit, I believe. And I'm not sure if it's still, I'm not sure if it's still there. And I think it's at 320 Hillcrest. Are you thinking it's across the, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an additional.
So it is
CrossFit.
it is a separate.
Say,
Yes, Commissioner Harvey. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Well, on industrial, isn't there like Ravella's Gym? Maybe by there?
Yeah,
That's
across the
correct.
street. And the applicants here, if you wish, if you want to ask, they have the CrossFit's a little different than the gym use. I don't know if they want to speak on behalf of what the CrossFit gym entails,
I
if you
really-
like. Uh-huh.
You know, I really don't need to hear from the applicant according to use, but I do know that in that area, it seems to be, although it is a conditional use, I mean, just from the use standpoint, to have a fitness use there seems to be compatible. I mean, it doesn't really have any issues in terms of the conditional use. So, in my view, you already have those types of uses already going on there.
That's correct.
Seem to be getting along with the industrial uses.
There is another one. Yes.
And I know they do need the industrial type spaces because of the higher ceilings and the activities that they do for the CrossFit type of gym. So it's really, really difficult for them to find commercial space that meets their needs. So that's the main reason for a CrossFit gym to look for something in industrial zoning. So,
Just a general question, and on the exhibit here, the plans that we're reviewing here, conditional use. I know I don't have any concerns, but I think that, you know, if we're going to be looking at this, once it goes through the building department, they're gonna look at it for all the accessibility issues and all those things. And from a planning perspective, the site plan doesn't really show too much more than a diagram of the building and the parking. When you do a conditional use, are there any, from your standpoint, staff, are there any mechanisms that you may have to have the applicant demonstrate, like model landscaping or anything like that? Is that a concern? I have to feel like I should ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, there's no exterior changes to the building. Everything would just be installation of water closets. They've been speaking with Greg Johnson, the building official, kind of going to work on that. But mostly the suite that the applicant indicated, they said it was suited their needs, and we had spoke with engineering and it went through DRC, and they didn't see any changes that need to be made to the exterior in terms of adding landscape or anything along those lines.
Well,
So
for instance, the changes are slight enough where you really don't have to really go through that.
yes,
other
and so they'll
issues.
be
Okay.
going, yeah.
All right.
I hope that answers.
So
your
most
question.
of the changes will be mostly for providing those additional bathrooms. and-
Yeah, interior,
Okay.
correct. And then they have to do the ADA, and they'll go
Right.
through building, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional comments, questions?
I just want to make sure, water closets or bathrooms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more, I guess it would be the proper name for stalls.
Okay.
So,
right.
yeah, so they just have to have that within the, yeah.
And then are those going to be also fitting rooms, changing rooms and things like that? And by the way, I'm glad that the applicants are here so we can ask questions in case we do, just like this. So. Oh, okay. All right. No, I was just wondering. Yeah. I've seen that my daughter does a roller derby, so the CrossFit, and they usually come as they are, and boom, they take off running. Yeah, so CrossFit's a whole different thing. So, okay, I just want to thank you.
Okay.
Just for the record, since they're answering from the audience, that's all right. We don't need to have them stand. I mean, maybe I should, but they were just mentioning that it's not necessarily like a locker room type situation. It really is just a restroom. So, for the folks that are watching out there in
Like
TV
the old
world.
high school bathrooms. When you didn't want to dress with everybody, you went into the bathroom stall.
Okay, so no additional comments. Do we have, we thank the applicant for speaking or answering the questions. Do we have any additional or any other speaker cards, Billy?
No.
None? Okay, so we will open and close the public comment period at 6:10 and bring it back to the commissioners. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve PC, I'm not sure what the number is.
2013-16.
2013-16 and adopt conditional use permit 2013-3 with the subject conditions in the draft resolution.
Second.
Who do we got on the second?
I got Alvarez.
Okay. Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. We'll move now.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Item number 2, continuation of site and architectural review 2013-5 and variance 2013-1. Jesse Brar, 17 San Benito Street, APN 054-010-22, 054-1023, requesting approval of a variance for removal of requirements for common open space and reduction of private open requirements with site and architecture application for the renovation of a second-story existing building currently used as an office space into 6 studio apartment units on 2 lots totaling .26 acres within the downtown mixed use of the city of Hollister. CEQA's categorical exemption.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance of private open space and common open space requirements in regards to the site and architectural application for the renovation of the second-story building from office space to apartment units. It's 6 studio apartment units, totaling, the lot totals 0.26 acres. The exterior view facing San Benito Street would consist of a stucco facade with the addition of 2 balconies using a barrel tile overhang. The front elevation would install 3 new windows for 3 of the units that would also be facing San Benito Street. The existing roof line would remain the same, consisting of a flat roof with squared overhang. The building has stair access to the 2nd floor from the north elevation facing 7th Street, and a secondary emergency access only from Soup Alley. The building has 1 elevator inside as well. The City of Hollister City Council approved resolution number 2008-175 at its December 1st, 2008 meeting, basically adopting Measure Y, exempting the Hollister downtown commercial and mixed-use designation as shown on Attachment A, which was passed to you a little while ago. We also have some copies in the lobby as well, exempting the area located on the map, on the Measure Y map from residential growth limits. So therefore, the applicant did not have to come before the Planning Commission for residential growth allocations.
Per section 170440, multifamily residential general development standards, each unit shall have a minimum of 64 square feet of private open space when provided by a deck or balcony. Units 201 and 202 would have private balconies of 65 square feet, each facing San Benito Street. The existing building has constraints when it comes to providing private open space pertaining to units 203, 204, 205, and 206. Other buildings within the downtown area would also face similar constraints when providing private open space. The applicant is requesting a variance for the requirement to provide all 6 private open space balconies. And I'm just going to kind of go through some of the explanations why. The western elevation is located on the property line. Installation of balconies along the west would result in an encroachment onto the neighboring parcel because the building sits on a 0 lot line. The existing building also borders Swoop Alley to the south An installation of a balcony along the south would not meet the height clearance for vehicles using Swoop Alley, and this is according to engineering. So our engineering department said that the height of the balcony, that could possibly maybe a truck or a delivery vehicle might hit the balcony below. The applicant would be able to provide 2 balconies facing San Benito Street for 2 of the units. The remaining 4 would be unable to be provided with private open space due to the existing orientation of the building on the site. Per the Hollister Municipal Code, mixed-use developments require a common open space component be incorporated for residential units and designed to serve the needs of the occupants of the housing units. The current uses on the property include an existing gas station, mini market, offices, and pizza parlor, all located on the first floor of the existing building. With circulation needed for the fuel station on the site, the open space component could not be met. For parking, the site is within the downtown parking assessment district. The district was approved by the City of Hollister City Council on January 24th, 1977. Parcels within the district would not be required to provide parking for the use. The proposed use would need a minimum of 6 parking spaces, would be 1 per studio unit. That's if the applicant had to provide parking on the site.
The applicant would also be installing a 6-foot by 9 feet trash enclosure to accommodate the new units. The trash enclosure is to be located along the southern property line. There is a trash enclosure detail on the plans. We also put one up here on the PowerPoint. The east and west edges of the trash enclosure would have a 1 foot by 7 inch wide and 2 foot high planter box to soften the 6 foot high masonry wall making up the enclosure. The proposed decorative gates would provide a 10-foot opening to screen the dumpster. A pressure-treated trellis would adorn the trash enclosure as a covering. It was really, the site is built out, so it was really tough indicating where the trash enclosure would be. However, the applicant indicated that if needed to put a trash enclosure, he would try to make it as nice as possible in the front. And so that's what the applicant is proposing for his application. So with this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving Saturn Architectural Application 2013-5 and variance number 2013-1, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolutions. At this time, staff's open to receive any questions from the commission.
Any questions for staff?
I have, go ahead, Carol.
Let's start, Commissioner Lenore.
The west side has no windows, correct? I'm sorry, I really meant to look at that again today. With the west boundary, there's no windows?
Yeah, there's,
along
yes,
that side?
Commissioner Lenore, actually, we have this slide, I'm sorry. Let me try to, oh, I got it here. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Right, well, no, maybe I didn't
I
show the
don't
left. The left is going along,
What's
here.
with the right and left elevation? Shouldn't it be north and south, east
North and
and
south.
west?
Yeah,
'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't
We're-
really like that.
I know, Commissioner
So
Lenore.
on the
That's one
west,
thing.
which would be the rear.
This is here.
That's one thing that we try
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, so the west property line is on the 0 lot line, so
Right.
we can't have any openings there, and then
Yeah.
potentially it's vacant, so the lot next door, so if they do put a building there, in essence, it would be connected to the other and it would
So-
block. Mhm.
So are you saying that the building code would allow living units without a window on the exterior?
There's a, let me get the floor plans up here. Yeah, there's, and they would have to go through the building department as well, but the, openable windows for the bedrooms are all, facing east. Or, excuse me,
You mean
one
the
is facing,
inside, from the interior?
yes.
So there's
So-
no exterior window on the west side?
Oh, not on the west side, that's for the hallway, here. And then the unit, windows would be facing the east. On
Okay.
unit, 205, 204, 203, and then 202 and 201, located here behind Abraham. Those have the balconies, and then unit 206 will have the openable windows over Swoop Alley.
So I guess I just didn't read it right, and I'll admit that. So that's the
Yeah.
hallway behind there?
Yeah, so this is the hallway,
Okay.
and then, yeah, along the west, because they wouldn't be able to have openings there, so
Okay.
that's why, yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I had
Answers that.
a comment.
Go ahead.
I have a comment to make, and this is, my comment is regarding the 64 square feet private space requirement. And I'm not really commenting specifically on this particular project, but in the downtown area, we may not have really thought that out that well, because in the downtown area, if we ever manifest our vision of infill residential units on several of those buildings, we're going to have a heck of a time trying to meet that requirement. So, I mean, it's something we may want to revisit, see if we can do an errata or an addendum to it sometime in the future. That's my comment.
And there's a few, kind of going along with that, Commissioner Huboy, there's a few buildings that are historical downtown as well, not this one, but we wouldn't want any of those kind of exterior changes to change the historical building, the character of them. So this is kind of the first project where we're going to have some, hopefully if it's approved tonight, have some kind of downtown living available.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be doing.
Mixed use.
Yeah, so
That's great.
I'm excited about that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I have a comment and a question. The question I have is the parking spaces, where do they go? I mean, if they have to have,
They go
they
in the
got 6
street.
units.
They go in the street because they're in the parking assessment district, which means they don't have to provide on-site parking downtown if you're in that assessment district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so there is a few, we have a map on our office basically showing where the assessment district is at, and this property is included in that parking assessment district. That's
Okay.
correct, as Commissioner Lenore mentioned.
And then my comment would be, just the look of that area, that building itself. I mean, I know that, I'm all for having, the residential and all of that. I just hope that, when they get done with it, because when I look across the street at the bank and where the Chamber of Commerce used to be, it looks
Yes.
nice. And
Yes.
and then you go across the street and the whole, I understand it's a gas station and all of that, but it just doesn't look,
It's ugly.
it looks bad. It really looks bad. And it doesn't, I think if we want to improve, I know it's not a condition for for what their project is, but anything on the top, I'm sure would be an improvement. I just hope that they do a significant improvement. They're willing to do a significant, we understand that they should be doing a significant improvement to the bottom too to improve the look. I mean, the signs, it just really looks bad.
Just going to share a condition that we will make sure that the applicant abides by in the resolution.
yes, in the resolution, the draft resolution provided, we have a condition number 11. We'll be requiring an exterior painting of the building, and before there's any issuance of a building permit, they would have to remove all illegal signage. So anything that, I know maybe 1 or 2 of the signs have received administrative permit, but the other ones would have to be removed. Our municipal code requires that the property not be in any violation of the code before they get a building permit issued.
Correct.
So the signage would have to be removed.
And I,
Not the Labrada sign.
No, that one received a administrative permit, correct?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenore.
okay, and I have a question also too. Knowing that this would be residential, sitting right on top of fuel tanks, what are the conditions for the conversion of this to residential units? Knowing you're basically right on top of fuel storage tanks. Is there a condition built in that addresses that?
We did have the fire department look at this as well. They were part of the development review committee process, and also environmental health. They did receive, they both received the referrals for this project, and they're also part of our development review committee meeting. They were not, that was one of our concerns at first when we first received it as staff, when we sent them out, and we wanted to verify, if there was anything. They also have a vapor barrier recovery system that's on the, basically facing San Benito Street towards 7th, on the north side of the building, and the tank is actually against the building, against the commercial building. So we wanted to make sure that we had all the comments from the fire department and environmental health. Besides our standard conditions, do we have anything specific?
We
that-
have just we have a standard condition for just condition number 9, and that's they have to get verification from the fire department and environmental health prior to any building permit issuance.
Okay.
So that's a standard that the city has. So any requirement that before building even issues their permit.
So they would determine
Then
if
they-
those
They get clearance, yes.
tanks,
correct.
or not the
Mhm.
tanks, but the fuel pumps themselves needed to be upgraded to provide those breakaway type nozzles and all that upgrades, that they make sure that they're in place. Then something measure will be taken, I guess. Then.
Correct, by,
Okay. Okay.
yes,
Those are
by
my
the
questions.
departments.
I had another comment on the variance. I could see where personally, that I would be in favor of that, because those are studio apartments. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of kids or any kids in there that might need that extra open space, because it's pretty much just a studio apartment. But, you know, I
That's
didn't
a
want
good
to be
point.
too heavy-handed with the look of the building. I'm really excited that it's gonna look better, and I wanted to thank Jesse for that, and I am friends with Jesse, and I'll be
Yes.
telling him myself that
Yes.
I do appreciate him sprucing up the outside for this project very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Lenore.
I have a couple comments. The balconies, I'm not a really big fan. I'm just afraid, you know, when the building goes up and they put balconies, fine, you know, it's all structured in or whatever. Maybe somebody could help me here. But when they're gonna put them on after, I'm just afraid, you know, with the parade, hot nights, people standing out there, all of a sudden those things are on the ground.
Mhm.
You know, if they're not built, I mean, that's my concern about putting those balconies.
They have to
you
meet
know,
a code.
Those are very valid concerns, Commissioner,
Yeah.
You know,
but
if
they
you
do have
just,
to meet the
you
code.
know, put railing on there with a glass window or something like that, I'd be a little, but it's not my building. You know, that was my concern. And also the trash enclosures.
Yes.
When you said, I mean, you showed a image, you know, of, is that the way they're gonna, I mean, I think I've seen one like that, and that was in Morgan Hill the other day, and spent more time looking at that trash enclosure, wishing that we had some like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then, you know, and is it gonna stay like that?
Yeah, this is
That's-
oh, sorry.
That's my concern, you know.
Well, if it doesn't, I'll let you know.
Don't worry, I do cancer.
I'm glad I'm really glad they're gonna improve that. I mean, I didn't mean to come across, too, but,
Those are very
there's a lot
valid
of little
concerns.
things that can be
Yeah.
done to spruce
Yeah.
that area up. It
Absolutely.
don't cost a lot of money.
And again, I wish the applicant was here so we could, you know, address those concerns. to
We'll
him.
make sure
That's why
to,
it's important to, if
absolutely.
we're gonna make a decision for you, that you're here
To
and
be
you can
here
hear our
present.
concerns, you know, why, so.
The trash enclosure, it is, the one that we have here, it is very similar, or it may even be the same one. They're basically doing a replica of the, where the Vista Meadows Senior Apartments on Park and Rancho Drive. They have those there, and when speaking with the applicant indicated that he did want it, if he did require to have some type of enclosure, that he wanted to make it look as nice as possible, and that was good for us.
Yeah, you can thank him for that.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a question. Speaking of the improvements, the sign cheap beer and cigarettes, will that be in channel letters by any chance, or?
That's currently in, that's a wall sign, correct? Yeah, it would be, right now, it would be non-conforming. However, if they were to remove if they were to request for a different, like a bigger size or a
Oh, I
smaller
see.
size,
So that's an existing sign?
yeah, it's
Not
an
gonna be-
existing sign.
That's not the upgraded look?
Correct. It is an existing sign. If they were to upgrade it, then we would require that they conform to today's standards, which would recommend more of a channel letter signage
Cheap beer and cigarettes in channel letters.
in channel letters.
Is that,
Hey. I'm sorry.
you can do that. If you want that sign changed, this is the time for you to change it.
Make it
Oh, I
one
don't
of the
know, I don't
conditions.
know.
There's a nexus to
Yeah.
the exterior of the building, yes, you can make them change that. If you want it to be channel lettered, he would, and that's part of the conditions,
Considering they're making a substantial upgrade.
Yeah,
I don't think
this
it'll
is
be
not,
out of
this is,
line.
this is not necessarily a simple project.
Yeah.
When you're creating 6 units, there's gonna be a substantial investment in that building. The idea, I think as Commissioner Harvey mentioned, is that, the buildings, the surrounding buildings, most of the surrounding buildings, have been upgraded. There is a look and feel to that area, and quite frankly, this is your opportunity to rectify any of those situations that you're not happy with on that building.
I would
so-
be in favor of that.
I agree.
I'd like
It's
to
a
see the sign
substantial
upgrade.
upgrades to the sign and the continuation of, what he's proposing there, if possible, throughout. I mean, just to make it, so it's not just look add-on.
Right.
It doesn't look piecemeal.
Piecemeal,
Yes.
there you go.
More uniform.
Well, I just hate to see you get this top area fixed and it looks great, and then I'm looking from the outside, standing on the street, and I'm going,
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah.
and they,
I think
and
it's a
it
good
needs to.
suggestion.
I think the thing that
Makes sense.
I think that the other thing the commissioners might ask staff to do is to make sure that if they can look at the overall signage program of the entire site. Obviously, if we have a legal or a non-conforming pole sign or something like that out in front, that's not going to be necessarily what our focus is. But I know that I have had some, I'll say concerns. That's a good word. On some of the window signage and whatnot on the building itself. So, I mean, that's probably another thing that if you folks want to make sure that we have it nice in perpetuity, this is again
Well,
another.
that'll be a good thing too, because the window signage will go away once it's residential use.
Well, I mean, on the first floor as well.
Yeah, oh, okay, on the first floor too.
And I also want to address Commissioner Alvarez, his other question about the balconies. I think for safety, the balcony walls or railing is going to be, I believe, a 4-foot high solid wall. So it could be pretty high. We were concerned, staff was concerned with children's safety, and then there's also it's a little added privacy as well. It's a busy street, and there's the uses below. So instead of having the standard railing, it would go through the building code and for safety, and the wall is solid, and it's a little bit higher than I think initially was proposed. So about 4 feet in height.
So then, to incorporate that in, then, Billy, would we just, the commissioner's suggestions would be then added to existing condition or expanded to the existing conditions to include continuous facade, and then the sign issues, making sure that those signs are consistent with the
Current code.
current code. So that would then just be detailed within the existing conditions?
Yes.
Okay, so we wouldn't need to provide any new conditions to this. The staff would then expand on the ones that are already here.
Either way, I mean, we can do it as a new condition, or as part of the architectural part, or whatever section you folks wanted in, or just direct staff that you want all signage to conform to the current municipal code as it relates to signage on both wall signs and sign windows.
And for the facade improvements, that they
And
be
yeah.
continuous throughout the entire structure
Right.
versus just one
Right.
area.
And
Sure.
colors should be consistent with,
I
Okay.
think we probably just
The
add another
downtown
condition.
Just to add the condition
Yeah,
for
just add a
full.
condition.
Okay. Any additional comments? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment at 6:32. Billy, do you have any speaker cards? I was applicant here.
man,
No?
it's been a busy night. No.
We're
Okay.
doing 2 separate public hearings for variance and S&A?
It's one.
It's just one?
Yeah,
Just one.
Okay.
Okay, we'll close that public comment period at 6:32. Bring it back to the commission. What is the pleasure of the commission on this item?
I'm just thinking that if Jesse, and I'm sure he will, go through all the right procedures here, environmental health and building codes and all that, able to do infill apartments above a paved area with gas pumps and make it safe and habitable, then hopefully that'll set a good example for the other downtown owners to maybe we can get some infill going on there too. I mean, if you go through all these difficulty factors to get infill apartments in this building, then maybe we can do it at other areas in downtown.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, entertain a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve, that we adopt resolution number 2013-17 for the site and architectural 2013-5, and that we also adopt resolution 2013-18 for variance number 2013-1, with also the addition of the requirement that all signage on the building and the windows conform to the City of Hollister sign ordinance with the findings and conditions as stated.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item passes. We will move to item number 3. Request to initiate General Plan Amendment 2013-1 and rezone 2013-1. Darren DeCurto, the applicant, is requesting the initiation of General Plan Amendment 2013 to redesignate multiple parcels from North Gateway designation, commercial, to low-density residential, 1 to 8 dwelling units per acre. Rezone 2013 would initiate the process to rezone the same parcels from North Gateway District to low-density residential located east of San Felipe Road along Kirkpatrick Drive. APN 51-134, 35, and 51-136.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The City of Hollister received an application requesting approval to initiate a general plan amendment to redesignate 3 parcels consisting of .12 acres, .74 acres, and 2.17 acres from North Gateway to low-density residential. The rezone 2013-1 would rezone the same 3.03 acres from the North Gateway District to low-density residential. In addition to the general plan amendment and rezone of the subject territory requested by the applicant, staff recommends the general plan amendment and rezone also include additional adjacent properties currently designated as North Gateway Commercial to low-density residential, as illustrated in Exhibit B, the general plan amendment 2013-1. The total acreage of land that's proposed to be amended and rezoned from North Gateway to low-density residential in the general plan land use map is 90.39 acres. Of this, the 8.72 acres are within the City of Hollister's city limits, 34.62 acres are within the City of Hollister sphere of influence, and 47.05 acres are located outside of the city limits and sphere of influence. The North Gateway zoning district is intended to encourage large-scale retail commercial uses, office park, and service-oriented businesses along the north entrance to Hollister along the Highway 25 and San Felipe Road corridors. Residential development is not permitted in the North Gateway zoning district, with an exception of caretaker and employee housing and small and large temporary residential shelters. The low-density residential zoning district allows areas with densities up to 8 dwelling units per net acre. The low-density residential zoning district is consistent with the low-density residential land use category of the general plan. In addition to the general plan amendment and rezone of the subject territory, we're also, like mentioned before, we're going to request additional properties as well. And the general plan amendment and rezone of the additional properties would benefit the City of Hollister. And we're going to kind of go through the following, which number the different items that would benefit the City of Hollister. It would address regional housing needs. The housing element law mandates that local governments adequately plan to meet the existing and projected housing needs of all economic segments of the community. The general plan amendment would help the City of Hollister implement this requirement.
There's also going to be another added benefit. It would be relevant to the general plan policies of the current 2005-2023 City of Hollister general plan. These include several land use and community design element and housing element policies that are consistent with this general plan amendment, such as land use policy 7.2. It's a housing for housing diversity is to promote suitably located housing and services for people. Land use policy 7.3 to ensure that adequate land is designated to meet the projected future housing needs of the city. Land use policy 8.4 to preserve and enhance the character of existing residential neighborhoods. Housing policy 2.2, and that is to enhance neighborhood identity and sense of community by designing new housing with the sensitive transition of scale and compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. Housing policy 3.1, achieve a mix of housing types, densities, and designs to provide choice in owner and renter housing, small and large units, single and multifamily housing, and housing close to jobs and transit, and in this particular instance would be close to existing Highway 25 bypass for commuters. Also, housing policy 3.2, which is the general plan and zoning for housing to maintain an adequate supply of land designated for all types of residential development to meet the original housing need. Also, one of the reasons why the city is also recommending additional properties to be included in this request, not only the 3 parcels, but it would be to avoid the creation of a residential island, in effect to avoid the creation of spot zoning. Chapter 2 of the housing of the Hollister General Plan indicates that there's a total of 250 acres at this time designated as North Gateway Commercial. The application of 3 properties are entirely surrounded by the North Gateway General Plan and zoning designation. The General Plan amendment and rezone of the 3 properties from North Gateway Commercial to residential would allow for a smaller area of land in the center of a business or commercial district, thereby creating an island in the middle of a larger area devoted to other uses. Basically, a small 3.3 acre residential use in the middle of North Gateway Commercial. And the general plan amendment and rezoning of additional properties, additional to the 3 properties requested by the applicant, would maintain a more uniform general plan land use map and prevent for the possibility of creating spot zoning.
Regarding a route transfer of the new Highway 25 bypass, which opened to the public on February 5th, 2009, from the local agencies to the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, is expected in the near future. Caltrans does not permit access to private property from the Highway 25 bypass. Property along the bypass can access general commercial property using Park Street, Hillcrest Road, and Meridian Street. However, there are no other roads that intersect the Highway 25 bypass between Santa Ana Road and San Felipe Road. Access to the property along Highway 25 bypass between Santa Ana Road and San Felipe Road would have to occur from interior existing roads such as North Chapel Road or other future roads. This can affect future commercial development between the Santa Ana Road and San Felipe Road segment of Highway 25 bypass, making the area less desirable for commercial development. There is approximately 47.1 acres of land designated general commercial that is currently vacant along the Highway 25 bypass between Meridian Street and Tres Pinos and Nash Road. This includes 30.46 acres of vacant land recently annexed into the city of Hollister, designated as general commercial, located west of the Highway 25 bypass between Meridian Street and Hillcrest Road. The City of Hollister Development Services Department has experienced more interest by national retailers in the general commercial area south of Meridian Street than north of Santa Ana Road. The North Gateway Commercial designation will remain along San Felipe Road. There is a higher priority to develop commercial properties south of Santa Ana Road due to the higher concentration of residential units, more access to multimodal use of transportation such as bike lanes. There are more frequent bus stops and sidewalk connections for walkability. There are existing single-family residential units to the south of the 3 properties designated as North Gateway. Existing residential development in the North Gateway is considered to be non-conforming. Pursuant to Section 1724-220, non-conforming uses and structures of the Hollister Municipal Code, a non-conforming use of land and structure or building may be maintained indefinitely, except that no non-conforming use of land shall be enlarged, increased, or extended to occupy a greater area of land than what was occupied when it became non-conforming. Amending the general plan and rezoning the adjacent North Gateway properties to residential would permit existing residential properties to expand their use, such as having additions to their homes.
The recommended map amendment will alter the acreage of land in the respective land use designation. The total acreage of land that's proposed to be amended and rezoned from North Gateway to low-density residential in the general plan land use map is 90.39 acres. A general plan is required to include a summary of the development density for the associated variety of land uses shown on a general plan land use map. For example, currently there are 250 acres designated as North Gateway in the general plan. Pending approval of the general plan amendment before you, of course, this is just an initiation, but pending approval, later on, if it does, pending approval of the initiation and pending approval of the amendment, there would be 159 acres designated as North Gateway. The low-density residential zoning designation, or even general plan designation, allows for 1 to 8 units per acre, with the intent of promoting an average of 6 units per acre, not necessarily allowing for less, and with the possibility of allowing for more. But our goal as staff is to try to promote at least an average of about 6 units per acre in the low-density residential. And with that, there is a potential for, with the proposal of 90.39 acres changing from North Gateway to low-density residential, there is a potential of adding a total of 540 single-family homes to the area. Yes. Also, vacant lots generally allow for the possibility of a performance overlay zone, which would allow for smaller lots. The zoning requirement right now requires 5,500 square foot lots for single-family residential development. However, vacant lots usually get that performance overlay zone, and eventually would allow for smaller lot development to try to have them do the full 8, if possible, 8 dwelling units per acre. We were looking into the San Benito County existing general plan as well, because some of the area that's proposed to be amended is outside of the city limits, and we also looked at the proposed county general plan as well. And the County of San Benito is currently working on an update to the general plan. The parcels proposed to be amended and rezoned with this application that are outside of the city limits are currently designated rural residential in the existing general plan for the county. And the rural residential allows for 1 unit per 0.5 acres. The draft county general plan land use diagram has designated the parcels proposed to be amended and rezoned with this application that are outside of the city limits, essentially backwards to residential rural, from rural residential to residential rural. That's the name that they're proposing. And the residential rural designation for the county's draft general plan allows for a maximum density of 2 dwelling units per acre. The county's draft and current general plan land use designation of the territory proposed to be amended is inconsistent with the city's general plan regarding the range of densities, of course, because the city allows for 1 to 8, up to 8 units. However, if it does get approved, the general plan amendment does get approved, and the county decides to develop and they want to annex into the cities and to the city of Hollister, then at that point we would make sure that it's consistent to the low density, which allows for up to 8 units. So we would do that at the time of annexation, if pending approval of the general plan amendment.
The parcels proposed to be amended and rezoned with this application are within the Zone 6 traffic pattern zone of the Hollister Municipal Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan. The proposed residential density of Zone 6 of the ALUCP indicates a conditional land use acceptability, which states that the use is compatible if indicated usage intensity limit and or other listed conditions are met. And with this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the general plan amendment and rezone initiation and receive all written and oral testimony regarding the initiation request, that the commission recommend to the city council the initiation of a general plan amendment of the subject properties from North Gateway to low density residential as specified in Exhibit B. Are there any questions for staff?
Okay, any questions, commissioners?
Well, I think we talked about this, I'm not sure if, quite some time ago maybe, but, so if I understand it correctly, the applicant came in and then to make it work, you've decided to increase the the area to be rezoned.
Correct. The applicant came in with 3 parcels consisting of 3.03 acres, and to avoid spot zoning, staff reviewed the application and wanted to see if there could be a smoother transition to what's existing right now, adjacent to the North Gateway, which is low density residential.
Why not make it mixed use instead of low density residential? That way you have, I mean, if you were to do it, wouldn't have it a mixed use, so like if you have this really nice neighborhood or something that's in there, and then you have the ability for maybe like a little small market or a coffee shop or, you know, something to go in, because, you know, to me, if you put all those houses out there in that area as they develop, then, you know, you want to make it convenient. You want to cut down on the traffic, you know, I mean, from them having to go out and do whatever they got to do. I mean, I know it's not like they got to go far, but, you know, it's still, why, I mean, what would be the argument for not making it, why not make it mixed use?
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Commissioner Harvey. Right now, the city is still wanting to maintain it along San Felipe Road. Mixed use would allow, the mixed use that the city of Hollister has allows for a higher density. So the low density is from 1 to 8 units per acre. The mixed use would require a minimum of 20 units per acre to a maximum of 35, I believe it is. So it would potentially allow for a greater density in this area overall.
Or is there just, maybe I'm using the wrong, but is there another way to designate it where you could have the homes, but have you know, those the only 2 choices?
Like to have the choice of either residential or commercial?
Yeah, I mean,
He's
if you were-
talking like a neighborhood commercial.
Like a neighborhood commercial in the area, which would be allowed if it is zoned, like you indicated, or rezoned to a mixed use, because in the mixed use, the city does allow for commercial either in the bottom and residential on top, kind of like the Jesse's item that we just listened to, or side by side. But currently, we do have the residential in the mixed use would have to meet that minimum of 20 units. So if the desire of the commission would be to do it more of a mixed use, then that area would have to require a larger density wherever it does get amended to a higher density. So that would be the option. If it does get amended, if for a mixed use, the requirement would be for a higher density as opposed to a lower density that's being proposed by the applicant.
I guess one of the advantages is by rezoning it to low density, you got those smaller parcels there that they can't increase. You're saying that they can't make larger. It'd be problematic with that type of density.
Yeah, because you're
minimum
talking.
density requirement to develop those small parcels.
Yeah, and I appreciate that comment, Commissioner Dubois, because that is one of the biggest problems that we tend to run into from a staff's perspective is legal non-conforming uses. And that was really, there's a few other places that I'd like to try to get cleaned up, but out there is one. And if you go to a mixed-use designation out there, not only do we have a density issue and a commercial issue, and I can give you a number of different reasons why, even in the areas that we currently have mixed-use designations, we haven't built one mixed-use project yet because it's just very difficult. They're not feasible. I know it's a great designation and it's a great idea, and in theory it should work, but you know, right now it's just not, for probably a number of different reasons, financial being the one. But getting back on track, yes, it's really about trying to alleviate any of the non-conforming uses that are out there from those few single-family homes that are out there that can't do anything with their homes, from additions to just maintenance. I mean, we really start to dissect how much of this property and how much of the value is being improved as opposed to what we should just let deteriorate and go away. And it's just it's unfortunate for those folks that live out there.
And also, we would like to, if it's the wish of the Plan Commission, we would want to if they want to look at the mixed use further and the higher density, we would just need to go back and look at the airport land use compatibility plan and make sure, just for safety purposes of having the higher densities there, if it's compatible with the plan, We would just need to go back and just to make sure that everything, that would work. And that was something we looked at when staff, when we were kind of seeing about the low density and how, what would be in the area as well. And I think also kind of with the mixed use, the commercial is kind of next to it. We would like to have connections to those neighborhoods as well. So as they develop next to the commercial, pedestrian connections for walkability and bike paths as well, we would be encouraging that. So there'll be, a good joint effort with the commercial that will be there along San Felipe and the residential.
And I just had a question too. Would having the designation for low density, given, I think you threw out a number 500 units, potential 500 single-family units, and I'm not sure what the total acreage of that area would be, but I think having some higher density, whether it be apartments or something, incorporated into there to allow that, I'm assuming that within that R1, if somebody were to come in with a plan for a subdivision that included a multifamily component within that development, that would then be allowed. So again, that's one of my concerns, is that that's a huge amount of area to have just all single-family homes. But having that diversity of single-family and multifamily, I think, would be important.
Again, I think
Sure.
with what staff is recommending at this point, when you have a low-density designation, the range or a PZ, if we have a performance zoning and you can go into how many units per acre, Abraham? 8?
8.
Yeah, 1 to 8. So, again, there's opportunity for you to have, the whole reason behind the performance zoning is that, we're seeking an X number of units per acre that you can get to. 8, how you get there is completely up to you. If you're wanting to do some larger lots and then you have an apartment component to it, that's perfect, and that's why we've kind of created that PZ zoning, is to try to get a comprehensive housing type of product out there. I know it's, again, the last few months or year and a half, it hasn't been that way, but we're not necessarily just planning for tomorrow. We're trying to plan for the future, and that's a good way to do it.
And my last question is, so having this, going back to that overlay and zoning area, this would have been taken into consideration as far as the infrastructure is concerned when we're talking about water, sewer services as well, correct? I mean, would this, having this rezone and having this open opportunity, I'm assuming, we've got a state-of-the-art facility on the other side of town. Does that accommodate this amount of growth?
Well, I think a lot of the area that you're actually looking at is actually outside of the city limit.
But if it were to come into the city,
Yeah,
we're talking about...
but when you go through the annexation process, there's plan for services that engineers have to go through, and that's essentially where we determine whether or not the appropriate infrastructure is there or it's not there.
Okay.
Couple comments. Well, I am a little slightly concerned about the North Gateway shrinking, because at the other end of town, on the south end, pretty much, I believe, done on that end with any commercial, other than the downtown area. Might be able to expand a little east in the future. So really, well, we got the west side. I guess the numbers aren't really that bad as far as the change in that. But I was concerned with it leaving the North Gateway and going to residential. But I do also favor the performance overlay zone, because I do concur with you. I would like to see a little bit of mixture there. And I'm sure the applicant will probably want to build maybe as much as he could on one of those areas. So it might just work out fine to have it a little higher density than 1 or 2 or 3 units. So, yeah, I have a concern, but if this inventory and saying it's okay, then that will be all right with me.
If I can address Commissioner Lenore's concern on the commercial. So, just so you know, there is about 120,000 square feet left to build on the southern part of the Gibson property. There's probably
yes,
about
I forgot
another
about that.
40,000 on the northern part.
Okay.
Then on the Guerra piece, it ranges probably close to 220,000 square feet. It's going to be quite some time for us to actually absorb that amount of
And we
commercial.
have the west side.
And we have West Side.
Sounds
And we
like
not
West
only
Side.
do we have West Side, but
Yeah.
you're right, we still have North Gateway and
Yeah.
the McNamee piece that is on the south east corner of San Felipe and the bypass is 17 acres. You know, if we can incorporate that or annex all of that piece, that's a huge project. And again, on the other side, the Hudner piece is another pretty large area that's available. So I think from our perspective, again, I think there's a lot of commercial opportunities that still exist. People are having a hard time, I mean, marketing sort of B and C type commercial land that's off of, well, Kirkpatrick especially. When you're getting that far off of the road where you can't really make left and rights coming off of San Felipe, it makes it even more difficult,
Okay.
less desirable from a real
Okay.
commercial perspective.
There are some circulation issues there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I do like the idea of bringing some properties into conformance. I
Looks-
think they'll enjoy that as well.
And then Commissioner
Thank you.
Lenore, it looks like, because we noted in our staff report as well, for the two of the properties that Billy had mentioned, Gibson and Guerra, we have 47.1 acres, so currently vacant. So
Thank you.
that's kind of a number that you could picture about how much we have currently available south of Santa Ana.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you,
So that's okay.
thank you.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, my concerns are, have we, you know, Billy said it's not all in the city, right? So county, have we ever had any conversations with the county planning, you know, your peers about, you know, what they, you know, we should get together and talk about, you know,
Absolutely.
what they see, or, you know, what happens, you know, what affects them affects us, and, you know, back in, but, you know, you know, we need to have those conversations, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to just throw, this is what we want there, and, you know, we're going to, you know, those are just my, you know, concerns, having a good relationship with the county. You know,
Absolutely.
Not just, you know, that's just one of my concerns.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Commissioner Alvarez, just to try to respond to that concern, at this time, we've done some, we did contact the planning department, but just right now, just at the early stage. Eventually, we would like to send out our referrals to them, meet with them, talk to them, talk to all the property owners as well, and discuss. We did do a little bit of research regarding the existing zoning and the proposed general plan, you know, what they're proposing to have. And they're actually proposing to have residential in that area. So we thought, well, it would be consistent if we, of course, our residential is a little bit higher. One major factor on that is because of services, as Chairman Torres mentioned. However, if pending approval and pending future annexation, we would want to make sure that the property conform to the city's density, which is a little bit higher of up to 8 units per acre, as to what they're proposing. I think it's 2 units per acre. So
Okay.
absolutely,
It's just important for,
yes,
you know, I believe, for us to, you know, work together and at least have conversations and, you know,
absolutely,
try to get those things worked out before we go forward. So, thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional comments? None, we'll open up public comment period at 7:02, 7:03 we'll call it. Do we have any speaker cards, Billy?
No, but apparently Ann is walking up to the podium.
Okay.
Too good for a card these days.
Apparently, I'm sorry, I'll fill one out. Ann Hall with San Benito Engineering, I'm here representing the client in this case, and I had 2 comments. One was just a clarification. I know when we submitted this, the proposal says to rezone to low-density residential. Our request was to rezone to low-density residential with the performance overlay, but it sounds like, listening to you, that the performance overlay kind of comes along, even though it's not spelled out in that, in your actual
Staff report.
staff report. So it would include the performance overlay?
Generally, when the city does a designation of a property, if it is within the residential, either R1, R2, medium density, or high density, one of the things that the city looks at is if the property is vacant, then pretty much the city's going to recommend for that overlay density.
Okay.
So yes,
Okay, because that was just the applicant was, you can see it's kind of an awkwardly shaped piece of property, so the performance overlay gives us a little more flexibility in how we would be able to lay that out. So that was really the only thing I wanted to clarify, and then my other comment was for Commissioner Alvarez, because I have also submitted to the county for projects, just to let you know, if I submit to the county planning for projects within the city's sphere of influence, I know the city gets a opportunity to comment, and the county usually does take that pretty seriously if it's within the city sphere, so,
Good.
just from my experience.
Great.
And then I'm here in case you have any questions about the project for the applicant.
Any questions?
Thank you.
No? Thank you. Okay, we'll close the public comment period at 7:04 and bring it back to the commission. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I just, comment is, I commend the staff for taking advantage of mopping up that nonconformity out there. And I think that having that residential component there and still off the kind of gateway from San Felipe, I think that's gonna make the existing North Gateway parcels, more attractive for development. So getting the rooftops, they're always looking for rooftops, especially with commercial development. And it's going to be a substantial amount of rooftops that can be placed out there, even though it is a lower density. So I think I'm in favor of this.
Any additional comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the request to initiate General Plan Amendment 2013-1 and rezone 2013-1. Did I say that right, Bill?
All right, have a motion
Second?
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. All right. New business.
No, we have none.
Okay, department reports.
We have none.
I'll report that I'm tired, I want to go home.
Okay. Planning Commission reports.
I have a report.
Commissioner Alvarez?
Sorry.
That's all right, that's good. You never speak, you're all right.
What I would like from the planning to is see if we can get a meeting with the Parks and Rec Commission. You know, the park that we want, that we then let Rakovic. You know, we need to get on the same page with them. I stopped by and talked with Clay Lee, and we had a nice conversation, and I said, well, I'll ask, see if we can get together, just so, we can all be on the same page and get that going forward. Also, I talked with Sean out at the Holster Water, or the San Benito Water District, about, we talked about too, a low maintenance, park, or so he could help us, and he was all for that. So, we need to grab the resources that we can. So I'm asking, if it's okay with everybody else, and if we can get something, with the Parks and Rec Commission and sit down and just.
A joint study
Yes,
session type of thing?
Yeah, just, in the future, but, just so we can.
Sure. No, that's generally not a problem. I believe that they meet on the, do they meet on the fourth
Next
Tuesday?
Yeah, next Tuesday, yeah.
And we meet on the fourth Thursday.
Mhm. So whenever
We'll
you
try to
guys
work
can get
something out.
together, something
I
like
think
that.
it would be good. We seem to be on a different page than the land use park master plan. So maybe we need to have education there.
This is not necessarily meant to, I probably could have reported this, but just as long as Commissioner Alvarez brought it up, we did get the appeal from the Planning Commission's last decision, yeah. So it will be scheduled to go to the City Council. They will set the public hearing date at the September 3rd meeting, which will likely be the September 19th meeting. So anyway, just I thought.
I was sure that was gonna be appealed.
Okay, any additional?
Commissioner,
I missed at the beginning of the meeting, I apologize. I should have brought it up at the beginning, but I do want to not lose sight of the fact that we were trying to do regulations for the mobile food vending. Because then it's gonna come up again, and they're gonna say, why didn't you guys finish? So, we need to finish.
yes,
And even if we do something and we don't like it, we'll change it later.
yes,
But
that's a good point,
I think we
Commissioner.
should be doing that now, because
Yeah.
it seemed to be a hot button before the rally.
Yes,
Let's get it done.
yes, Commissioner Lenore, we will definitely get something together and bring that very soon.
I know you're very limited with your time. I just would like to see it done soon than not.
Thank you for
All right.
understanding.
Thank you.
I also want to respond, if you don't mind, Chairman Torres, to Commissioner Alvarez. Commissioner Claley, he actually did contact staff earlier today and did mention that you had talked to him and you guys had a good conversation. And he just said, that he's willing to talk to his commission as well, just to let him know tomorrow what we discussed, and he'll talk to his commission as well to try to set something up, something that kind of like what Bill mentioned, maybe like a joint study session or something to get that going. So
Thank you.
we appreciate that.
Sounds good. Any other comments? Questions?
I have a comment before we adjourn. As we know that August 11th, we lost our dear friend, former city councilman, planning commissioner, Charles Scott, who served the community for more than 20 years. As you know, he's a Man of the Year, won philanthropy awards. He served the Army for 22 years. He was Command Sergeant Major. He completed 3 tours in Vietnam. He was awarded the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal, among other awards that he won. And I'm personally proud to have had the privilege and honor to have known him and to have been his friend to this great man. So with those words, I propose that we adjourn our meeting in the memory of Charlie Scott.
Thank you, Commissioner Boyd. And with a motion and a second? Okay, and a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting this evening, and our next regular meeting is Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.